Hello everyone, it's us again. Me, Nick, and my mom, better known by you guys as Danny.
Yeah, that's right. I always forget. I don't know if I've ever put my name. I know it's a little bit darker, but for some unknown reason, my room it was so bright. However, it is nice and cool.
It was bright enough to kill a dinosaur.
See? Dinosaur. However, with that being said, I know you can see the TV, and my son's, bored in his loveys, and the shelf filled with books.
Yeah, I am obsessed with Squishmallows.
See?
I created lore from each of my Squishmallows. My first one has 8 kids. Yeah, my first Squishmallow, Mrs. Cupcakes.
Oh, he got the mini cupcakes for the Squishmallows after. Well, anyways, there are fans, and there is an AC in this room, and it is far more comfortable. And so I'm just kind of leaning back. It's so hot, though. This is what it's been like where I live mostly, and it's very uncomfortable, not just for me. And I'm, relatively healthy compared to many others, so you can imagine how it's been for, our elderly neighbors and people who they're too sick to go out. Please check on your neighbors. Okay, that you can say. He's like, yeah, that does make sense. I thought he was going to be like, yeah, you got to get out all them old farts. I was like, no, don't even do it. He picks on his Nana when he says that. He is not serious. She will pound him to dust, by the way.
What are you talking about?
You told Nana one time she had flabby, fat arms.
Even though that is the truth.
We all do.
But if I'm being honest, how is anybody even supposed to catch me? I'm literally the fastest thing alive. I'm the kid equivalent of Sonic the Hedgehog.
You're the kid equivalent to a potato.
I am not a potato.
Sometimes he is. Okay, with that being said, and without further ado, we're going to jump right back in to Chapter 6, Dinosaur Valley. Annie, look at this, Jack called. Look at what I found. Annie had gone up to the hilltop. She was picking a flower from the magnolia tree. Annie looked.
What's a magnolia tree?
A magnolia tree.
That sounds like what scientists would call a fort from a star.
I don't think so. So sorry, I'm so tired. And you know what the worst part is? I found Chompy.
Yep, this was one of my first ever plushies. We named him Chompy. And his backstory is, I'm going to tell you both of his backstories. So his original backstory was my mom found him in Walmart, and he got him for me for my 2nd birthday. But my backstory that I created for him is that he was one of the only surviving dinosaurs from the asteroid apocalypse.
He's going to be just fine. But because Nick didn't know what he was in the beginning, if he was an alligator, a crocodile, or a dinosaur, he called him an alacrocosaur. So now you have it.
Yeah, and it turns out the website that sells the plushies,
No, it was on eBay that we found it.
Yeah, and and on that same website, somebody literally called Chompy a grasshopper.
Yeah, I was like,
what part of that screams grasshopper? Chompy literally has scales and a tail. Like, what grasshopper is somebody seeing that looks like Chompy? Well, I'm pretty sure if you live in Australia, then, yeah, considering that all of the deadliest and weirdest animals come from there.
Okay. Well, with that being said, we got to get back to the book. Because we're 4 minutes in, and all we've done is talk about Chompy, and we're moving past. Annie looked. A medallion, shouted Jack. But Annie wasn't paying attention to Jack. She was staring at something on the other side of the hill. Oh, wow, she said, clutching her magnolia flower. She took off down the hill. Annie, come back, Jack shouted. But Annie had disappeared. She seems to do that a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, is there a magician in these books that nobody's telling us about?
I don't know. Oh, brother, Jack muttered. He stuffed the gold medallion into his jean pocket. Then Jack heard Annie shriek. Annie! He said. Jack heard another sound as well, a deep bellowing sound like a tuba. Jack, come here, quick, Annie called. Jack raced up the hill. Then he got to the top. he gasped. The valley below was filled with nests, big nests made out of mud. The nests were filled with tiny dinosaurs. Annie was crouched next to one of the nests. Towering over her was a gigantic duck-billed dinosaur. "Don't panic, don't move," said Jack. He stepped slowly down the hill towards Annie. The huge dinosaur was waving her arms and making her tuba sounds. "She doesn't want her near her babies." Jack stopped. He didn't want to get too close. He knelt on the ground. "Okay, move towards me. Slowly," he said.
I still don't know why animals are so protective over their babies.
Because they can't defend themselves. That's our jobs. Annie started to stand up. "Don't stand, crawl," said Jack. Clutching her flower, Annie crawled towards Jack.
Does Jack know about dinosaurs?
I don't know. Still bellowing, the duck-billed dinosaur followed her. Annie froze. "Keep going," Jack said. Annie stopped crawling
I have to Google
again.
that later after this video. Do dinosaurs
Jack,
have
monkey. Jack inched further down the hill until he was just an arm's distance from Annie. He reached out and grabbed her hand. He pulled Annie towards him. "Stay down," Jack said. He crouched he crouched next to her. "Bow your head. Pretend to chew." "Chew," said Annie. "Yes," said Jack. "I read that's what you do if a mean dog comes at you." "She's no dog, Jack," said Annie. "Just chew," said Jack. Jack and Annie both bowed their heads and pretended to chew. Soon the dinosaur grew quiet. Jack looked up. "I don't think she's mad anymore," he said. "You saved me," said Annie. "Thanks." "You have to use your brain, Annie," said Jack. "You can't just go running to a nest of babies. There's always a mother nearby." Annie stood up. "Annie, don't," said Jack. Too late. Annie held out her magnolia flower to the dinosaur. "I'm sorry I made you worry about the babies," she said. The dinosaur moved closer to Annie. She grabbed the flower from her hand. She reached for another. "No more," said Annie. The dinosaur let out a sad tuba sound. "But there are more flowers up there," Annie said. She pointed to the top of the hill. "I'll get you some." Annie hurried up the hill. The dinosaur waddled after her. Jack quickly looked at the dinosaur's baby. Some were crawling out of their nest. "Where are the other mothers?" Jack wondered. Jack took out the dinosaur book. He flipped through the page. He found a picture of some duck-billed dinosaurs. He read the caption. I'm not going to do this dinosaur any favors. I think I'm going to mess up his name. An Dinosaurus lived in colonies. While a few mothers babysat the nests, others looked for food. So there were probably more mothers close by looking for food. "Hey, Jack," Annie called. Jack looked up. Annie was at the top of the hill, feeding magnolia flowers to a giant Dinosaurus. "Guess what?" Annie said. "She's nice too."
You know it's okay to mess up some words. I don't even know how to say Chaha Bahar.
Okay. Suddenly, the Dinosaurus made her terrible tuba sounds. Annie crouched down and started to chew. The dinosaur charged down the hill. She seemed afraid of something. Jack put the book on top of his pack. He hurried to Annie. "I wonder why she ran away," said Annie. "We were starting to be friends." Jack looked around. What he saw in the distance almost made him faint. An enormous monster was coming across the plain. Oh. I don't know. The monster was walking on two strong legs. It was swinging a long, thick tail and dangled two tiny arms. It had a huge head, and its jaws were wide open. Even from far away, Jack could see its long, gleaming teeth. What do you think it was? What do you think it is?
I think it's a carrot.
You think a carrot is chasing an Dinosaurus?
I mean, if it's a monster carrot, then yeah. But I think that's true considering some of the stuff that happens in these books.
A carrot.
Yeah.
Tyrannosaurus Rex, whispered Jack. A carrot. Chapter 7. Ready, set, go. "Run, Annie, run," cried Jack. "Run to the treehouse." Jack and Annie dashed down the hill together. They ran through the tall grass and ferns past the pteranodon. They scrambled up the rope ladder and tumbled into the treehouse. Annie leaped to the window. "It's going away," she said, panting. Jack pushed his glasses into place. He looked out the window with Annie. The Tyrannosaurus Rex was wandering off, but then the monster stopped and turned around. "Duck," said Jack. The two of them ducked their heads. After a long moment, they peeked out the window. "Coast clear," said Jack. "Yeah," whispered Annie. "We have to get out of here," said Jack. "You made a wish before," said Annie. "Right," said Jack. He took a deep breath. "I wish we could go back to Frog Creek." "Nothing happened." "I said I wish," started Jack. "Wait," said Annie. "You were looking at a picture in the dinosaur book. Hold on. Remember." "Oh no, I left the book and my pack at the hill," said Jack. "I have to go back." "Forget it," said Annie. "I can't," said Jack. "The book doesn't belong to us. Plus my notebooks with all of my notes in my bag. And my... Okay, said Annie. "I'll hurry," said Jack. He climbed quickly down the ladder and leapt to the ground. Jack raced past the pteranodon, through the ferns, through the tall grass, and up the hill. He looked down. His pack was laying on the ground. On top of it was the dinosaur book. But now the valley below was filled with Anatosauruses. They were all standing guard around the nests. Where had they been? Did the fear of the Tyrannosaurus Rex send them home? Jack took a deep breath. Ready, set, go, he thought. Okay, well, what's your question, Nick?
What is a wishwillow?
Wishwillow?
Yeah, for all I know is a chicken.
Where did you get wishwillow?
I have no idea, but all I know about it is that it's a chicken bone in a box, and it grants any wish you ask it to give. So basically a genie with no consequences.
If this is what I think it is, I think that it has lots of consequences, and we don't play with it. That's what I think.
So basically the monkey's paw?
Oh, Lord have mercy. No, we're not having this conversation. Anyways, back to the book. He charged down the hill. He ran to his backpack and scooped it up. He grabbed the dinosaur book. Jack heard a terrible tuba sound. Then another and another. All the Anatosauruses were bellowing at him. Jack took off. He raced up the hilltop. He started down the hill. Oh, my nose. Sorry, my nose is very itchy. He stopped. The Tyrannosaurus Rex was back. It was standing between Jack and the treehouse. Oh, no.
That bad.
Chapter 8, A Giant Shadow. Jack jumped behind the magnolia tree. His heart was beating so fast he could hardly think. He peeked out at the giant monster. The horrible-looking creature was opening and closing his huge jaw. Its teeth were as big as steak knives. "Don't panic," thought Jack. "Think." He peered down at the valley. Good. The duck-billed dinosaurs were sticking close to their nests. Jack looked back at the Tyrannosaurus. Good. The monster still didn't seem to know he was there. "Don't panic. Think. Maybe there's information in the book." Jack opened the dinosaur book. He found Tyrannosaurus Rex. He read, "Tyrannosaurus Rex was one of the largest meat-eating land animals of all time. If it were alive today, it could eat a human in one bite." "No thanks." Great, thought Jack. The book was no help at all. Jack tried to think clearly. He couldn't hide on the other side of the trees. The Anatosauruses might stampede. He couldn't run to the treehouse. The Tyrannosaurus might run faster. Maybe he could just wait for the monster to leave. Jack peered around the tree. The Tyrannosaurus had wandered closer to the hill. Something caught Jack's eye. Annie was coming down the rope ladder. Why?
I don't know.
Is she nuts? What is she doing? Jack wondered. Jack watched Annie hop off the ladder. Annie hurried over to the pteranodon. She was talking to him. She was flapping her arms. She pointed at Jack, at the sky, at the treehouse. She is nuts, Jack thought. Go back up in the tree, Jack whispered. Go. Jack heard a roar. The Tyrannosaurus Rex was looking in his direction. Jack hit the ground. The Tyrannosaurus Rex was coming towards the hill. Jack felt the ground shake. What should I do? Jack wondered. Should I run? Crawl into the dinosaur valley? Climb the magnolia tree? Suddenly a giant shadow covered Jack. He looked up. The pteranodon was gliding overhead. The giant creature sailed towards the top of the hill. He was heading towards Jack. Chapter 9, The Amazing Ride. The pteranodon coasted down to the ground. He stared at Jack with his bright, alert eyes. What was Jack supposed to do? Climb on? But I'm too heavy, thought Jack. Jack looked at the Tyrannosaurus. It was staring up the hill. Its giant teeth were flashing in the sunlight. Okay, thought Jack. Don't think. Just do it. Jack put his book in his pack. Then he climbed on the pteranodon's back. He held on tightly. The creature moved forward. He spread his wings. He lifted off the ground. Jack nearly fell off as they teetered this way and that. The pteranodon steadied himself and rose into the sky. Jack looked down. The Tyrannosaurus was staring up at him and chomping at the air. The pteranodon glided away. He sailed over the hilltop and over the valley. He circled above all the duck-billed dinosaurs and all the nests filled with babies. Then the pteranodon soared out over the plain, over the triceratops who was grazing in the high grass. Jack felt like a bird. The wind was rushing through his hair. The air smelled sweet and fresh. Jack whooped and laughed. He couldn't believe it. He was riding on the back of an ancient flying reptile. The pteranodon sailed over the steam and over the ferns and bushes. Then he carried Jack down to the base of the oak tree. When they came to a stop, Jack slid off the creature's back and landed on the ground. The pteranodon took off again and glided into the sky. "Bye, Henry," called Jack. "Jack, are you okay?" Annie shouted from the treehouse. Jack pushed his glasses into place. He kept staring at the pteranodon. "Jack," Annie called. Jack looked up at Annie. He smiled. "Thanks for saving my life," he said. That was really fun." "Thank Henry, not me," said Annie. Come on, climb up." Jack tried to stand. His legs were wobbly. He felt a bit dizzy. "Hurry," shouted Annie. "It's coming." Jack looked around. The Tyrannosaurus, my nose is itching, was heading straight towards him. Jack bolted to the ladder. He started climbing. "Hurry, hurry," screamed Annie. Annie reached the top and scrambled into the treehouse. "It's coming towards the tree," Annie cried. The dinosaur slammed against the oak tree. The treehouse shook like a leaf in the wind. Jack and Annie tumbled into the books. "Make a wish to go home," cried Annie. "We need the book." "The Pennsylvania book," said Jack. "Where is it?" They both searched madly around the treehouse. "Found it," said Jack. He grabbed the book and flipped through the pages. He found the photograph of the Frog Creek woods. Jack pointed to the picture in the book. "I wish we could go home," he shouted. The wind began to blow. Jack closed his eyes. He held on tightly to Annie. The treehouse started to spin. It spun faster and faster. Then everything was still. Absolutely still. Chapter 10. Home Before Dark. Jack heard birds singing. He opened his eyes. He was still pointing at the picture of Frog Creek Woods. He peeked out the treehouse window. Outside, he saw the exact same view as the picture in the book. "We're home," whispered Annie. The woods were lit, a golden late afternoon light. The sun was about to set. No time had passed since they had left Frog Creek. "Jack! Annie!" a voice called from the distance. "That's Mom," said Annie. Jack saw their mother far away. She was standing in front of their house. She looked tiny. "Annie! Jack!" she called. Annie stuck her head out the window and shouted, "Coming!" Jack still felt dazed. He just stared at Annie. "What happened to us?" he said. "We took a trip in a magic treehouse," said Annie simply. "But it's the same time as when we left," said Jack. Annie shrugged. "How did it take us so far away?" said Jack. And so long ago?" "You looked at a picture in a book and said you wished we could go there," said Annie, "and the magic treehouse took us there." "But how?" said Jack. "And who built this magic treehouse? And who put all these books here?" "A magic person, I guess," said Annie. "Oh, look," said Jack. "I almost forgot about this." Jack reached into his pocket and pulled out the gold medallion. "Someone lost this back there."
About. Does the books even explain where the treehouse came from?
No, but hold on. "Someone lost this back there," he said, "in Dinosaur Land. Looks like the letter M on it." so sorry. I don't know why I'm yawning so much. I don't know, said Jack. I just know someone went to that place before us. Jack! Annie! Their mom called again. Coming! Annie shouted. Jack put the gold medallion back in his pocket. He pulled the dinosaur book out of his pack and put it back with the other books. Then he and Annie took one last look around the treehouse. Goodbye, house, whispered Annie. Jack slung his backpack over his shoulder. Annie started down the rope ladder. Jack followed. Seconds later, they hopped onto the ground and started walking out of the woods. No one's going to believe our story, said Jack. So let's not tell anyone, said Annie. Dad won't believe it, said Jack. He'll say it was a dream, said Annie. Mom won't believe it, said Jack. She'll say it was pretend. My teacher won't believe it, said Jack. She'll say you're nuts, said Annie. We better not tell anyone, said Jack. I already said that, said Annie. Jack sighed. I think I'm starting not to believe in myself, he said. They left the woods and started up the road towards their house. As they walked past all the houses on their street, a trip to dinosaur times did seem more and more like a dream, only this world and this time seemed real. Jack reached into his pocket. He clasped the golden medallion. He felt the engraving of the letter M. It made his fingers tingle. Jack laughed. Suddenly, he felt very happy, but couldn't explain what had happened today. But he knew for sure that their trip in the magic treehouse had been real, absolutely real. Tomorrow, Jack said softly, we'll go back to the woods. Of course, said Annie, and we'll climb up to the treehouse. Jack said. Of course, said Annie. And we'll see what happens next, said Jack. Of course, said Annie, race you. And they took off together, running for home. And that is it.
Well, that was a fun book.
Sounds it. All right, you guys, let us know what you want to read for your next book.